started and we'll make this fun. Let's do a quick show of hands. How many of us work in silos all by ourselves, not working with anybody else? You do? Well, we all wish we did, but that's not reality. So let's do a second quick show of hands. How many of us are working with customers, partners, suppliers, or vendors on a daily basis? Nearly all of us. So the point here is that the world is collaborative and we have to work with others and others have to work with us. And we have to make sure that when we give access to others, that it's not forever and that there are no orphan accesses just lingering around. Now, one quick question. Did any of you have an opportunity to attend our CVP Joy session on Monday? Or our governance team, Joe and Mark's session yesterday? Okay, so some of you guys have a bit of familiarity with identity governance. So today I'll be talking about entitlements management. So hi, I am Mamta Kumar, a senior program manager in the Azure Identity Governance space. The last 2 years I talked about Windows device management. This year I'll be talking about identity entitlements management. Let's think of a sample scenario. How many of us keep our money in the bank? Majority of us. Now, we all like using online portals and then using our mobile apps to transfer money, send money to friends, get money from friends, pay bills and so forth. Is there anybody here who hasn't physically walked into a bank in the last year or so? Yeah, sure. Me too. I haven't walked into a bank in the past 3 years. So now let's think of a sample scenario. Let's think of a bank. Let's call it Woodgrove Bank. And let's say that I am the senior vice president, Mamta, at Woodgrove Bank. Now what's happening is my bank's online portal is pretty outdated. We do not have bill pay, we do not have direct deposits. So we have our customers walking into the bank that nobody likes to do. So what I've noticed is that many of our customers that were active customers are not using their accounts anymore. And there has been a lot of money transfers going out of our bank, Woodgrove Bank, to a different bank. So that really concerns me because I do not want to lose my customers. So we hired a business development group who did some customer behavior analytics and they said, hey, you need to do something about your online portal. Otherwise your customers are all going to run away. So I looked at a bunch of design firms and we decided to go with one particular design firm. Let's give it a name. We'll call it Graphic Design Institute. So I decided that yes, this is the best design institute and we are going to get their help to revamp our online portals. So now I'm the senior VP of a bank. I can't just let anybody come into the bank and look at the web portals and try to do a redesign. There is a lot of sensitive bank information in our tenant. Now when we are partnering with a design firm, it's also important that they are not just sitting around to get access. How many of you have had an issue wherein you are just sitting and waiting for 2 days, 4 days, a couple of weeks to get access? It happens with us all the time. We are working with somebody, hey, I do not have access, access denied, and I don't even know who I should ask to get the access. So what we are doing here is, in our scenario, the bank has a lot of existing web materials that could be reused or at least is a baseline for the redesign. And then we have a design firm that is going to help the bank. Now the design firm doesn't know anything about the bank, so they need to see the baseline of what does their existing web portal look like. What are the existing customer behaviors? Do customers like doing direct deposit using their phones? Do they like doing bill pay? Those kind of things. Now, the bank does not want to give access forever and wants to make sure that the designers get access to the bank resources only after a proper approval process. So all of this is basically tied into a solution known as identity governance. So let's get into identity governance. So why identity governance? We want to make sure that the right people, the right designers at the design firm have the right access, which is time limited, to the bank's resources in order to keep the bank's resources secure. Productivity. I talked about people sitting around waiting to get access. When we are partnering with the design firm, they have to get access in a timely manner and get productive right away. We are paying for this. So there are 4 key questions that we try to answer with our identity governance solution. One is who has and should have access. So partnering with the design firm, perhaps it is 10 designers or perhaps it is 100 designers. So we have to make sure that it's the right 10 designers that are getting access. I might notice that we gave access to 10 designers and one of them logged in for 5 minutes and then hasn't logged in for 30 days. Well, he definitely isn't the right person that has access, that needed access, otherwise he would have done something with his access. The next one is, what are they doing with their access? Are they just logging in and running away? Are they copying content? Are they contributing? Are they just visiting? Those kind of questions. The next one is, are there good controls in place? Now we talked about 10 designers. It might become 100 designers. As the bank, we don't want to be in the business of managing each of those 100 or 1000 designers. And I'm sure you have had this problem wherein you work with an external entity and there are 10,000 people, you physically cannot know every single person. So we have to make sure that our solution is scalable and automated. And the last one is the compliance audit. The compliance officer comes to you and says, hey, who is that guy that has access to your content? What is he doing with that? And you will say, well, your finding says that he was brought in, but he did nothing with it. So why does that guy have access? So we should be able to answer that question. So all of this, with our solution of identity governance, will address these concerns as well as ensure that we have secure productivity. On the bank side, all their assets stay secure. On the design firm side, they have timely access to get productive. We also had a breakout session yesterday with Joe and Mark, and I see Mark is here, which did many deep dives into this governance space. Now, when you look at this very complicated slide, governance is a very vast topic, and much of this was covered yesterday. So I am going to touch upon some of the ones that are in bold text. One of them being B2B invites. What does that mean? The bank is a business, is able to invite users at the other business, which is the design firm. The next one is B2B access request. I do not want to be in the business of inviting 1,000 people if it gets to that scale. So the design firm will be able to share that access link with other designers and they will be able to request access to resources. Now we just don't want anybody to get access, which brings us to the next one, which is the approval workflow. The approval workflow happens after the designer requests access. It goes through a proper vetting process. Now some companies such as the bank, I might say that, hey, I want to be the final authority on who has access to my stuff. Some others might say, there are 1,000 people, I am a busy person, I trust that other design manager completely. I will let that person be the decision maker and do the approval. There can also be multiple. You might say that, hey, that person needs to approve and this person needs to approve, or either of them needs to approve. The next one is entitlements management, and that is the one that we will really dig deep into in the demos that we'll show. So let's meet some of the folks at the bank. We talked about the senior VP, which is me. I have an IT manager, Victor Ness. Then we have the design firm Graphic Design Institute. Our main contact there is Sky Hunt. She is the design manager. So if I had to delegate my approval decision, I would delegate it to Sky because she is the manager there. She has a couple of designers, and we met these 4 people last week to talk about the partnership. And I know that she has many more designers in her firm that I might not know personally. So we have Oliver, Linda, and Mason. Alright, now let's get into some demos. Who likes to see demos? Alright, demo time. So I'll show you the end user experience for the requester. So the requester is at the design firm. The approver can be either at the design firm or at the bank. In our case, the bank wants to hold the final authority. So it's going to be Victor Ness, my IT manager. So now let's see how a designer, we are going to look at a couple of things. How a designer at the Design Institute requests access. So first, I sent out an email. This is the B2B invite. So I sent out an email to Sky, the design manager, saying, hey, it's great partnering with you. Here is the link. Request access and give it to some of your designers so they can also request access. How does an approver? The approver in our case is Victor Ness at the bank. What does his experience look like? And what does the requester at the design firm, which is the designer, see when he is approved? So let's take a quick look. So this is the designer at the design firm. His name is Alan Dunn. Now let's think of 2 designers. Let's think of a designer, Lily. Lily has never seen our tenant. So the tenant in our case is Woodgrove Bank. If you notice to the left corner, Lily is a new designer. However, her experience to request access will be same as Alan. Alan has worked with us for a couple of days, so he already has an account in our tenant. However, the request experience is exactly the same. So the key thing to notice here is Alan is able to log in using his Graphic Design Institute credentials into the Woodgrove Bank tenant, which is Woodgrove Bank here. So in Alan's case, he already has an account in Woodgrove Bank. In Lily's case, it does not exist yet. When she receives an invite and she does this process of requesting, an account is created for her at the bank's tenant. So let's say that Alan wants to have access to the next gen ideas. So he clicks on request and then he says, I have some cool ideas. Now he can request it for a specific duration or he can request it for as long as he wants, but again that is time bound. So let's say he says that I want it from today because I want to submit my cool ideas right away, and he asks for a week's access, which is fine. So he clicks submit and this request gets submitted. Now let's look at what happens when, so the designer has submitted the request, the approver is on the bank side. So when the approver is looking at it, this is Victor Ness. Now Victor Ness has logged into his own tenant, Woodgrove Bank. He will see a bunch of pending approvals. While Alan's request is coming in, I see that yesterday he had put in a request for a different package which was marketing trend. Now why is he asking for marketing data? Let's look at it. What is he saying? So here he sees, I need to see the analytics data. Now I might say that he has cool ideas, he wants to look at data. I can either approve or deny. But I know Alan, he's a good guy. So this request is a good request. So I'll say approving, since we talked about this. And then I click approve. So what happens here is the approver has approved the request. Once the request is approved, the fulfillment happens. So there are certain resources that he will get provisioned into and get access. Now switching back to what Alan Dunn will see. We saw that he had sent out a request yesterday which was pending approval, and then Victor Ness went and approved it. Let's look at accesses he has. So this is one of the entitlements that he has access to. So right now he submitted for a different entitlement. However, this is the one that he got access to yesterday and what it looks like. So he has access to this, which is a different entitlement. So an entitlement is basically a grouping of all the resources that are needed for a project. So the designer doesn't have to think, do I need access to SharePoint? Do I need access to that Salesforce app? He doesn't have to think about it. We bring it all together for him. So he looks at it. Now what he can do is, here Alan has the link, and let's say Lily said that, hey, I didn't receive the link from Sky, the design manager, yet, but she's on vacation, can you share it? Alan can send this link to Lily on behalf of Sky, because once he has access, he can share it. But Lily doesn't get access, she has to go through the request process. And here, these are just the resources. So there are SharePoint sites, there is an application. So this is basically the requester's experience of how he requested, Alan Dunn. The approver's experience, which is Victor Ness, what it looks like to approve a request. You have to put in business justification as the requester. You have to put in why you are approving, because somebody else will be the approver yesterday tomorrow looking at it and wonder, why does this guy have access? So you better put in a proper justification. And then we looked at what the designer Alan will see once he has access. Now all of this seemed pretty straightforward, like an end user should be able to see it. There was nothing complicated here. Now let's quickly jump to the admin experience. So Victor Ness, the IT manager, did all the heavy lifting work of setting it up. So what does that look like? So this is the Azure portal that you might be familiar with. So here we have a concept called catalogs. Catalog is basically a grouping of resources, and inside of a catalog, many entitlements can be created. So let's say that a sales director creates a catalog with a bunch of sales resources, and then his sales managers create entitlement for East Coast, West Coast, and so forth. So here the catalog is Woodgrove Bank's online refresh. So I have it open here. What this shows is it was created by Victor, my IT manager. It has a couple of entitlements like the next gen one, the market trend, and the web revamp. It has 3 resources. Let's look at the resources in a little bit. Then it is published. Unless it is published, people won't be able to see it, and it is visible outside the directory. What that means is the bank is making it visible to different tenants, in our case the graphic design firm. Let's look at entitlements. So we'll look at this 2018 web revamp. This entitlement was also created by Victor Ness, which is inside this catalog, the bank's online refresh. This is the link that was originally sent in that email that Mamta sent to Skyhunt, the design manager, that this is where the package is and this is where you have to go to request access. We see there are the 2 SharePoint sites and 1 app, and there is a policy. These are the 3 apps that are part of the entitlement. Now let's dig a little bit into the policies. So policies basically defines the guardrails around who gets access. Who gets access, for how long do they get access, and so forth. So here put in a name for the policy, what it does. You have to enable the policy for it to take effect, and then requests. So here if you want just your internal employees, but it's a small pilot program, you can add this tiny group of 10 people, internal employees for this. Or in our case it's the partner Graphic Design Institute. When they are brought in to access our tenant, you can bring them as a guest or a member if it's a merger and acquisition scenario. You can do require approval. In our case, it's Victor Ness and Mamta. the approval request will time out in 7 days. You can also say automatically approve if it's not very sensitive information, or you can automatically deny if you think there are some bad players there. For them, you can say that automatically deny. Now let's look at the next screen. So you can remove access on a specific date. If you think that, hey, my partnership is going to end on the 30th of this month, you can set it up that way. For now, we'll keep it like this. Remove access after 75 days. It's a short-term project, 2.5 months. After 75 days, it's gone. I don't have to think about it. It started in September, October, November. I don't have to think. That's how Victor set it up. And then if the project goes over by a few days, end users could request extend access without being disrupted by not having access. And then it basically just shows the summary. The cool thing about this whole governance solution is that at any time, Victor or an admin can go and see who are all the people who've requested access, what is the state it's sitting in, and also look at who all have the grants. So let's say there are 100 designers or 10 designers. At any time, I can go in and see who has access to that entitlement.
We have another presentation, about 20 minutes. We do every
So this was that experience, and then I showed you the admin experience. Next steps, we have a white paper on identity governance, so please take a look. And if you would like to participate in a private preview that's going on right now, please go to that link and fill out the form, and we will review your information and get back to you about your participation in the private preview. And then we have a booth, so if you have any questions, find us at the booth. And thank you very much for coming, and if you have any questions, I'll be around here for a little bit, so let me know. Thank you.